And now we can go ahead and load our code, the G code of the stuff that we want to cut. So let's go find it. My desktop. I called this one candle holder. I'm going to do the chamfer first. It's a tap file. I'm going to open this. And now it comes up right in there. It's put it right in there, but doesn't actually know where I'm going to put that yet. That's, so actually before I even do anything, let's go put our piece of wood down on the table, and then we'll tell the machine where that piece of wood really is, because it just threw it in here kind of randomly, or maybe it's from another file from the last file. But this isn't really where I'm going to put it. I might just put it somewhere else. So let me get that prepared. Okay, so we're here at the miter saw station. We have this big long 2x4 of redwood. We don't need all this. It won't fit on the CNC anyway. This actually has an angle on it, so I'm going to begin at the top. My candle holder is 9 inches, but I also need to screw in the wood, so I need a couple extra inches to screw in. So I'm going to give myself like an extra 3 or so inches. I'm going to mark it at 1 foot right there. That'll give me at least 1.5 inches to put a screw in there. It's kind of tight, but you might want to even do more. But I would add, say, maybe 4 inches. So if you're doing an 8-inch candle holder, make it 12 inches. If you're doing a 7-inch, make it 11. Just add 4 inches to it. So actually, let me just do what I say, and I'll just make mine 13 since mine is 9 right now. So there's my mark. This will open up, push down the handle here, and then as you're pushing down, pull that button out. I'll go ahead and do that right now. That opens up the miter saw. Up on top here, you can turn on the light. All right, gives it a shadow system. I'm gonna put this piece of wood up against the fence. Oh. And I'm gonna put that mark, the one that 13-inch mark, right on it. As I lower this blade, you'll kind of see that it falls on that mark, the shadow does. Okay, well, we have our piece of wood extra long, so we can put some screws in here at the end and secure it, even though I didn't cat it like this. So let's go take this piece. Pick the piece you think looks best. It looks like there's some holes in here. That's gonna, not my favorite, but whatever. It's just a practice piece. I'm gonna put it with that little angle up on top. When I put a piece of wood down here, I kind of try to make it parallel to the table, and all these holes are also parallel to the table, so you can line up these holes with the edge, so they're kind of the same distance. That's a good quick reference, especially since our piece of wood actually is only 3.5 wide, and that's what our CAD model is. If this thing were crooked and we orient it right here, it's going to still cut parallel to the table. So you really want to try and make sure that this thing is pretty much lined up parallel, using these as a guide. All right, so get your driver, get the box of screws that we use for clamping the wood or screwing it to the table. This is a big old piece. We don't normally cut this thick, but I do have some longer pieces. These are like 3-inch screws that can go through there. And it is going to end up going through the spoil board. You can see it poking through there. As long as you don't hit, that's okay if it goes through, as long as you don't put a screw into the frame. You always got to be aware wherever you're screwing in your piece of wood, you can see where the bolts are. And also you can tell along the edge. You got to make sure you don't drill into here, okay? Just be aware that all this you can drill in as much as you want to, but once you get into where these bolts are located, that's where the actual aluminum frame is, and you can't drill into that. So reposition your spot. Okay, so I'm gonna just actually drill, these are self-tapping. I don't need to drill a pilot hole. And if it splits, well, hopefully it doesn't split, but if it does, then I will draw a pull-off pilot hole. I'm just gonna drill these straight down. And also whenever you're drilling screws in, sometimes you don't wanna drill a hole right into the hole, or drill a screw right into the hole, it won't connect. I've done that a bunch of times. Okay, good. That is slightly not parallel. Whenever it connected there, it kind of moved it. So you got to really kind of get that straight. It's at a slight angle. So I'm going to take this one out. The thing is hammering as it drives itself down. That's why it's so loud. Okay. Well, this I think is pretty much even, but still might be off slightly. That's why it is kind of maybe a better idea if you're cutting a piece of wood that's 3.5 inches wide, then you should CAD it to be less than 3.5 inches, like 3 1/4. That way you have a little bit of wiggle room here. I've got no wiggle room. You might want to adjust your cap model before you come down here and make it slightly thinner. That way, if it isn't parallel, you still have some room that it can go off track and still be within the wood. I don't know how this will work, but we will see. Okay, so let us now, our wood is secure. Make sure it's all the way pushed down. If this will, whenever you screw it in, sometimes it doesn't actually, it'll lift the wood up, and then you gotta unscrew it and then screw it down. Make sure that is all the way touching. Both sides, looks good. It's not moving. Thinner pieces of wood, I'd put multiple screws in here, but this is so thick that 2 will be fine. But usually like a square to all 4 corners, you know, you got to kind of use common sense. Is it really going to be secure? This thing is locked in there. Okay, so the next